Have you ever found yourself trapped, with no way forward and no way back? A moment where fear closes in, pressure rises, and it feels like everything is about to collapse. That is exactly where the Israelites found themselves, standing between a vast sea and a powerful army determined to bring them back into slavery. This is not just a story about water splitting apart. It is a story about fear, faith, obedience, and the power of God to make a way when there seems to be none. After generations of suffering in Egypt, the Israelites were finally free. Through mighty signs and wonders, God had broken Pharaoh's grip and led his people out of bondage. They left Egypt with hope, with relief, and with the promise of a new future. But freedom does not always feel safe at first. God led them through the wilderness, not on the shortest path, but on a path that required trust. By day, a pillar of cloud guided them. By night, a pillar of fire gave them light. God's presence was visible, constant, and reassuring. Then they reached a place that did not make sense. In front of them was the Red Sea, deep, wide, and impossible to cross. Mountains surrounded them on the sides, and behind them, in the distance, a terrible sound began to rise. Pharaoh had changed his mind. The king of Egypt gathered his army, chariots, horses, and soldiers, and began chasing the Israelites. As the people saw the dust of the approaching army, panic spread like wildfire. They cried out in fear, "Why did you bring us out here to die? Were there no graves in Egypt? It would have been better for us to stay slaves than to face this." Fear has a way of making the past look safer than it really was. When pressure rises, even bondage can seem more comfortable than uncertainty. But Moses stood firm. He spoke words that still echo through history. "Do not be afraid. Stand still, and you will see the salvation of the Lord. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Imagine that moment. The army is getting closer. The sea is still in front of you. Nothing has changed except the promise. Then God gave Moses a surprising instruction. "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move forward, forward, into the sea." Faith often requires movement before the miracle. God told Moses to stretch out his staff over the waters. As he did, a powerful east wind began to blow. The wind did not stop for a moment or an hour. It blew all night long. Slowly, the impossible began to happen. The waters parted. A path of dry ground appeared through the middle of the sea. Walls of water stood on both sides, held back by the power of God. Imagine the sight, the sound of rushing wind, the towering walls of water, the wet smell of the sea, the uncertainty of stepping onto that path. But they walked. Families, children, elders, livestock, an entire nation moved forward between walls of water. Step by step, fear gave way to faith. Behind them, Pharaoh's armies saw the path and rushed in after them. Their chariots thundered into the sea, confident they would overtake the escaping slaves. But what God opens for his people, no enemy can control. As the Israelites reached the other side, God told Moses to stretch out his hand once more. The moment the last person crossed, the waters returned. The sea collapsed over the Egyptian army. The chariots, the soldiers, the power that once terrified them, all disappeared beneath the waves. The threat was gone. For the first time, the Israelites stood on the other side, completely free. Can you imagine the silence after the storm? The realization that the army was no longer coming. The overwhelming relief. Fear turned into awe. That day, the people saw the power of God with their own eyes. They understood that their freedom was not by chance, it was by divine intervention. Moses and the Israelites responded the only way they could. They worshipped. They sang a song of victory, declaring that the Lord is mighty. that he fights for his people, and that no power on earth can stand against him. But this story is not just about ancient history, it speaks directly to our lives today. Because we all face Red Sea moments, times when we feel trapped between two impossible situations, times when fear whispers that there is no way out, times when the future looks uncertain and the past feels safer, even if it wasn't good for us. Sometimes the sea in front of us looks like financial pressure, a broken relationship, a health crisis, a career uncertainty, or a season of waiting that feels too long. And behind us, the Egypt of our past tries to pull us back. Old habits, old fears, old patterns, old doubts. This story teaches us several powerful truths. First, God's guidance does not always follow the easiest path. Sometimes He leads us into situations that require deeper trust, not because He wants to harm us, but because He wants to reveal His power in ways we would never experience otherwise. Second, fear is a natural reaction, but it does not have to be our final response. The Israelites were afraid, but the turning point came when they chose to listen to God's promise instead of their panic. Third, faith often requires action before the miracle. God did not part the sea while they stood still in fear. He told them to move forward. Sometimes the breakthrough comes after we take the step He's asking us to take. Fourth, what looks like an obstacle may actually be the place where God displays His greatest power. The sea that looked like their end became the pathway to their freedom. And finally, when God delivers you, the victory is complete. The same power that opens the way also removes the threat behind you. In today's world, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. News, pressure, uncertainty, and constant comparison can make life feel like one long crisis. Many people feel stuck, anxious, or unsure about the future. But the story of the Red Sea reminds us of something powerful. God still makes a way. When you don't see a solution, He sees the path. When you feel surrounded, He is still fighting for you. When fear tells you it's over, faith reminds you that God is just getting started. Maybe you are standing at your own Red Sea right now. If so, remember these words. Don't let fear decide your future. Stand firm. Listen for God's direction. And when He says move, take the step, even if the path has not fully appeared yet. Because the same God who parted the sea is still working today. And sometimes, the greatest miracles happen when the situation looks the most impossible. If this message encouraged you, take a moment to reflect. What is the Red Sea in your life? And what step of faith might God be asking you to take? Trust that He is able. Trust that He is present. And trust that your story is not over. Thank you so much for watching. If this video inspired you, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so you will be notified every time we upload a new video. And remember, when the path disappears, God can still make a way.